All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and waiting patiently for the intro to finish up. I hope everybody is doing well today. It's another rainy day here where I'm at. Irfan, what's going on, man? I'm doing all right. Had a pretty busy day yesterday. So yeah, I wasn't able to get any content out, but not a big deal. Doesn't seem like there was a whole lot going on. Yeah, there's more drama surrounding Ghost of Yotay with their latest trailer that they put out. Irfan, JMR, I hope you guys are doing well. Lady Gamer, what's going on? She's doing okay. Yeah, she had a little procedure yesterday, but she's doing really well today. So definitely good news on that front. And hopefully the procedure that she got done will help her out. Petrov says, drama? Question mark? What drama? But we do have some topics that we're going to be talking about today. As you can see in my title, I say the PlayStation event is next week. And it seems like we pretty much have confirmation that next week is the week. And of course, the big question is, what kind of event are we talking about? Are we talking about a state of play or a showcase? We still don't know, but we'll go over the latest information. I'll keep you guys up to date with that. And yeah, we'll discuss maybe more of like what we could expect to see. But there's also a low power mode update that is officially rolled out, which is interesting. And Sony also talks about their use of AI going forward. Ghetto God, what's going on, man? Cloudy, Tarnished, Diego. No, I did not see that, Diego. Diego, I thought you were just saying, hey. No, I didn't see that, man. I saw that. Yeah, Neil Druckmann seems to be teasing that we are going to see Intergalactic. He said intergalactic, or he said soon intergalactic. That's what he changed his bio recently. He changed his bio. I usually don't. Please don't bring that up here. Oh my god. Keep it gaming, bro. Please keep it gaming. For the love of all that is holy, keep it gaming. Oh my lord. We have Nicodemus, a member for 23 months. He says, best decisions I've ever made in life. Number 1, accepting Jesus as my savior. 2, marrying my wife. 3, switching from Xbox to PlayStation all those years ago. Oh, man. He kept it gaming. Somehow Nicodemus kept it gaming, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy. No, I mean, I hear you, though, man. I hear you. I remember when I moved over back to PlayStation, it was a good time. It was a good time. Mr. B says the showcase might actually be real this time. Yo, you know Sony's about to pump that shit up, though, if it is a showcase. You know they're looking around right now and they're like, oh, man, we got to make this a really good one, bro. We have to really show up this time. Yeah, we talked about that in the last stream, Diego. The potential Tommy game spinoff. Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I think Neil Druckmann just straight up hinted that there is another Last of Us game in development. If it's a state of play, then we can for sure say that Sony changed the format. Well, yeah, the last time Sony did a showcase was May of 2023, so it's been well over 2 years. It's basically 2.5 years since they've done a showcase. If they're not going to do a showcase now, then to be honest, I don't think they're going to do another one. Maybe until like they launch the PlayStation 6. I think their new format will be just state of play, even if it's like massive state of play. That's basically a showcase. The Furious, you're saying with the $2 chat, do you hate me because we disagree politically? Hug me, bro. No, I don't hate you because of that, the Furious. Um, I do not hate you because of that. I would never hate somebody because of how they view things politically, you know? To be honest, I find it hard to actually hold on to hate. I'm going to be honest. I do find it very hard. It's painful. It's painful, dude. Um Michael Werniff, he's showing up. He says if we get 150 likes, memberships might drop in the chat. Yo, Michael Werniff, he's doing it again. He's doing it. He's rolling up. All right, guys, this is the new obsession. 150 likes. Spam it in the chat. 150 likes. I want to see if we can get there in record time, bro. Now I'm going to light the fire. Or at least spread the fire. Oh, it's okay, Tarnished. It's okay. It's like I said. Um, you know, I said, you know, like I understand why anybody would be hung up on that stream in particular. It's not a normal stream. You know, it wasn't a normal discussion. So it's okay. But you know, the last thing I want people to do is think that we're not focused on games. And by the way, I saw Mr. B was asking if I played Skate at all. I did try it out, and I definitely have some thoughts on it. I have to put more time into it though. But I did download it, and I was excited to play it. The one thing I will say though about Skate, at least like I have conflicting thoughts on it where I'm like, man, this feels great. Like, dude, this actually feels just like Skate 3. Like they really nailed it. And you can customize it and make it feel how you want and change the camera angles and everything. And the only thing that I find a little bit strange about it is, and I'm trying to get used to it, is the art style. They definitely went for a more Fortnite, Genshin Impact art style, which I'm like, it's not bad. And maybe it actually does fit the style of game, but it's just not how I remember Skate looking. So I'm like trying to get adjusted to that. Oh, and my God, dude, the terminology they use, the way that they talk, like they come up, like they say, like, we want to eduskate you and shit like that. And I'm like, what'd you just say? It's crazy. It's actually it's painful. But the gameplay is really fun. Like they really nailed how a skate game should feel. Guys, listen to me right now. Michael, we don't have time to talk about the Ghost of Yotay drama because you know what we need to do? We need to hit that like button. That's what we need to do. If you are in the stream right now and you did not hit that like button, you are actively hurting the channel right now, okay? You need to take a moment, stop whatever you're doing, and hit that like button. We need to hit 150 likes. It's an imperative. Or it's imperative. It is necessary. Hit that like button. If you guys want to actually will this PlayStation showcase into existence, clearly you're going to have to hit the like button. Boss, I swear. Not today. Get down. Hold on. Get down. Bro, I'm serious. Get down. You're going to knock everything over. You need to stop that. Up here. Come on. Look. Michael's got you, bro. All right, we get 150 likes. Michael's got you. He's trying to help me out. It's all good, JMR. It's all good. Someone was very disappointed on Steam for these things. MVG, where's the Hall of Meat competitions, death races, skate culture? Yeah, I did kind of get that feeling too when I was playing it, where I'm like, there's like something there that's missing. I mean, of course, like there's just some of the game modes or just the modes in general, which I kind of expected because they do like it is early access. I'm like, okay, they're probably going to add a bunch of stuff, but there's something there that I couldn't quite identify that felt like it was missing. And I do think it is, yeah, it seems like the skate culture, like it's just weird because when they're talking to you and coming up with this terminology. All right, you know what, boss? This is in good faith. This is a display of good faith. Guys, we're going to hit 150 likes. We're going to hit 150 likes, and Michael's going to drop some memberships for you guys. And he's going to drop enough that we can feed the beast. All right? Because if I don't, he's going to, like, turn my computer off, bro. Like, I'm just trying to stream and hang out with you guys and talk about some topics here. And boss is coming over, and he's like, bro, I will literally shut this down. Okay? He doesn't even wait for memberships anymore. He just demands. So, but yeah, I was saying that, like, in Skate, they're talking to you and using this terminology where I'm like, it feels like they're trying to force, like, what feels like skate culture, but it's definitely not actually skate culture. It's just something really cringe. It's like what they think skate culture is like. And that was pretty disappointing from that regard. But yeah, they are missing some stuff for sure, and you could tell it is an early access game. But it's free to play, you know. So I'm like, well, it cost me nothing to just try it out and play it. But I was having fun with it, I have to admit. Michael Lynch says, my name is Michael and I demand Yote news. Well, what is there to say, man? Truthfully, you know, people who are upset with it and are demanding more from Sucker Punch and Sony are continuing to do that. Sony is just like, they fired the person. They put out a statement saying they fired the person and they're moving on. Or at least they're trying to. So I you know, people are demanding a lot more. I don't know if they're going to get it. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't, but I think that Sony's scared. Truthfully, I think they're scared that if they do more, like, because they fired they took action, to be fair, and I think people need to acknowledge that they you know, actions do speak louder than words, and they basically said, like, yeah, this shit's not going to fly, you're out. So that matters, and I think some people are pretending that that doesn't matter, and that's disappointing because it's like, guys, you can't put them in a position where they're damned if they do and damned if they don't, because then they're just not going to. You know, some are saying they shouldn't have fired her. I mean, well, that's the thing. If you look around, everybody will say everything. You know, you'll get every different take on it. And so I just think Sony is clearly trying their best to just, you know, nip it in the bud, so to speak, and move on. And I won't lie, I'm a little bit nervous about, like, this show that's coming up next week where it's like, God, please, like, Ghost of Yotay reviews are coming out next week. I feel as though Ghost of Yotay's tainted. If I'm just being, like, completely honest, from a content creator standpoint, I feel like Ghost of Yotay's tainted in the sense that, like, yeah, Sony could put out a trailer that makes the game look awesome, and all you're going to, it's like, good luck trying to have a conversation about this game. And to me, that is what sucks the most, is like, I'm not saying it's not important. It obviously is. But I'm just saying, it's like, I don't know, man. It's entered a territory that I don't want to be in. And that territory is, like, frankly, extremism. And I get it. I just, I'm going to be honest, man. Not that I haven't been honest, but I hate that. Just a phrase I use. But what I'm really trying to say here is, I really wish that person never said what they did, because I don't think when it first went down, I don't work at Sucker Punch. You know what I mean? Like, I don't work at PlayStation Studios. I'm not employed there. Even I didn't realize, like, just that one person saying that one thing. I'm sorry, man, but it's like, you fucking ruined it. I'm not saying that means you can't buy the game and you can't enjoy the game and that the game won't be great. But I'm just saying, like, at least when it comes to the online conversation and the discourse, I just feel like it's ruined. But yeah, the trailer looked good, which is the funny part. As I've said about Ghost of Yotay, you know, putting the, political talk aside, as I've said about Yotay, it looks like a very well-made game. And that's the weirdest thing to see is people still taking this angle like it looks like a bad game. And I'm like, listen, man, you can basically cancel your pre-order and say you're not supporting this. That's fine. But I don't see how people could say it looks bad. That's the part that I kind of don't get still. I never understood that from day one with Yote. It looks like a good game. And it looks like a game that a lot of clearly like a lot of time and effort went into. Just, I mean, that's how most PlayStation Studios games end up looking. But do you think there was something off about Yote since day one? Makui Ninja, you're saying they fired Brian Kilmeade yet for saying kill homeless people? Yeah, Makui Ninja, I'm going to be honest, I don't know who that is or what that's in reference to, but that's crazy if that's true. That's another crazy radical thing to say. Who is it? I've never heard of that name. I don't know who that is. You're saying the new Yote trailer's on Blue Sky, but not on X? Wait, Diego, that can't be right. I saw them. Oh, it's a Fox News host? Okay. Yeah, that's a crazy thing to say, dude. Like I said, it's like I've tried to tell people. There's crazies on all sides. Doesn't matter where you stand. There's crazies everywhere. You just got to make, gotta be careful not to get, it's like crazy vortexes all around us. Don't get sucked into one. And Michael, you're saying, oh, so the drama is just people still trying to boycott the game even though the company took action. People are idiots. Well, I want to tamp this down right here, right now. I don't want this to turn into this conversation again. The facts are the facts. The fact of the matter is that Ghost of Yotay is still coming out. It's not going to get canceled. It's not going to get delayed. The fact of the matter is the person who did or who said the thing that caused all of this to even happen was fired, and Sony confirmed it. The fact of the matter is Sucker Punch is still, Perfect Image, you're saying, hey, MG, I took a hard look from a business stand and I asked my wife because she's a lawyer and she told me that action means more than words and grand gestures. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not here to, just like I was in my other stream talking about, I'm not here to tell people how to feel. By the way, guys, I'm like going to refuse to talk anymore. We need to hit 150 likes right now. Okay? I'm going to strike. I'm going to just sit here silently till we hit 150 likes. Michael Wernath is waiting. He's locked and loaded, ready to go, bro. 150 likes. That's what I want to see spammed in the chat. Do it. Do it now. See, I'm the only person that's allowed to spam in the chat. You understand? Only me. Only I can do it. But yeah, we could. I'm just saying we have over 240 people here. We could easily hit that. So let's get it done. Let's get it done, guys. I know we can do it. It really does help. It does help the channel, though. Stop spamming. 150 likes. Is that what you want? That is what I want. Hanzo didn't recognize me for a second there. But yeah, Perfect Image. That's I honestly feel that way too, man. I do. Grand gestures can be nice. Words are nice and they certainly have meaning and they help or they can hurt. But I do think actions speak louder than anything. I'm about to get banned from my own channel, man. Do I think that they'll show more intergalactic gameplay? It seems like they might be getting ready to. Yeah. By the way, good job, guys. We're already over 125 likes, so you're actually killing it. Keep going. Keep going. MBG with Yote, they're putting out too many trailers as if the pre-order numbers aren't looking good. I'm not sure. Sony usually does ramp up the marketing very close to release, so that's not unusual. I have a feeling this trailer was supposed to go out sooner though, and I think Sony was waiting a little bit. But they're not unaware. They know. And like I said, the fact of the matter is, I was running down the facts, and what I wanted to continue with just saying that is the fact of the matter is they did fire the person, and they put out a statement saying that they fired the person. That doesn't change like, does that mean that the entire culture inside of PlayStation Studios is, oh my God, it's changed overnight? No. And that's why some people are still angry. And I understand that. But I think people need to, you gotta take your victories, I think, where you can get them, man. And I think I find it strange that there aren't more people looking at this as a small victory. Not to try to play into that side of it, but that's how a lot of people are approaching it. And it's like, dude, like, you think every other developer isn't paying close attention to what the fuck's going on right now? Every PlayStation studio, other studios outside of Sony, like, they're kind of almost at the center of this in the gaming sphere. They're absolutely paying attention. And Sony sent a clear message where it's like, if you do this shit, you will get fired. And I'll be honest, I'm not really sure what, like, I get the sense that sometimes people want Sony to come out and be like, we forsake, like, we're forsaking the woke hive mind or something. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to do that. They're not going to dictate, where people want to stand politically in their studios. They're not going to tell them, like, why would they do it? But they are, in my opinion, like, this is them saying, like, but if you cross that line, you'll be gone. It doesn't matter if you're a 10-year vet at a studio, you'll get fired. And I understand that. And I have to highlight this because people were mentioning it. Microsoft did put out a statement where they said that they're doing like an investigation. I think that's what people want to see Sony do. And maybe they will. But, investigation or not, like, it seems like, yeah, people are getting fired if they do this shit. So. Guys, I have to walk away for approximately 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds. I have to get something that's on the front steps. Mrs. MEG can't lift it at the moment. So here's what I want from you, okay? We're at 100. We're at 136 likes. When I come back here, I better see 150 likes. I better see 150. All right. I'm back. I had to do that thing where I get all the groceries in one lift, in one shot. And we did it, guys. I'm very proud of you.
Holy shit.
I am proud of this chat right now. I'm proud of this audience. We hit 100. You went over 150. 153 likes. So thank you guys so much. And Omen coming in with the poop emoji. Thank you, Omen. You know I appreciate that, buddy. What did you guys do? You hit 154 likes. That's a good scream. That's a scream of joy. Thank you for that. It definitely helps. So we'll see. Michael's gonna at some point probably drop some member gifts for you guys for doing that. That's, I think, record time, by the way. I just want to point that out before we continue our conversation. I think that's the fastest we ever got. No, I want to say like ever, but on just like a regular stream. 150 likes within like 30 minutes. So good stuff. All right. But yeah, I wanted to highlight that. I think, you know, there's a group of people that feel as though Sucker Punch needs to do more and Sony needs to do more. And I do, to an extent, understand where that comes from. And I'm not here to tell somebody that they shouldn't ask them to do more. I wouldn't mind it either. But, you know, I just think that sometimes we have to be a little bit more realistic about things where, like, let's just face it. Right now, there is a lot of, I guess you could say, friction and conflict between certain groups of people. And it does sometimes feel like, you know, some of those groups of people, they won't be satisfied until it's all burned down. And that's what worries me sometimes, you know. That's why I tried to be fair and saying, like, listen, Sucker Punch, I'm not asking you to uproot your entire studio, to cancel your game, to, you know, to bend over backwards for me. I'm not asking them to do that because I just feel like that's unrealistic. I simply ask them to do something, to send me a signal, and many other people that you hear us, that you're aware of what's going on. And they did. And that's why I feel like, you know, what more could I realistically ask for at this point in time? Am I in or am I out? Well, what do you mean by that, Big Nabs? I'm not. See, that's where I struggle with that. It sounds like a black and white type of thing there. You sent a member milestone and it didn't go through, Johnny Gaming? Well, that's extremely annoying. Boss, you're unbelievable, dude. Come on. What, Johnny Gaming? Oh, Capono, I absolutely am. Yeah, no, I am. Johnny Gaming, if you could just send it, retype what you said in a regular chat if it lets you. All right. And I'll read it because I don't know why that didn't go through. But I do appreciate it, Johnny Gaming. And yeah, I am tired of it. And truthfully, I don't want to keep talking about it. But I understand that, you know, like Ghost of Yote is a PlayStation game, dude. And yeah, they drop a new trailer and there's more drama. Does that drama have to matter to you? No, it doesn't. And trust me, there's millions of people, regardless of how intense anybody wants to feel, there's millions of people that, like, they're not paying attention to this and they do not care. And that's just the reality, you know, that is another fact. But, you know, I think it's safe to say that Sony is, you know, they see what's going on and they probably see the pre-order cancellations and they're like, this is not great. You know, like, I'm sure Sony would be happier. This is why I said, like, that person who said that one thing, they did ruin it for so many people where it's like, we were this close. There was so much drama surrounding this game unnecessarily leading up to that moment that I always told you guys, like, there's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing of substance here. The worst thing that people could say is that the actress is, you know, really politically driven on her Twitter or whatever. And it's like, okay, whatever, I guess, as long as she's not saying like radically insane shit, but it just comes off that way because she's very, because there's a culture war between the right and the left. There has been for a long time. And I just figured, I think we can just get through this, man. Like, I think this is going to end up just being a good game with no bullshit around it. And then this happens, and it's like it was like teetering on the edge for a lot of people. And this is just, that gave it a big shove. And I feel like that the person who who no longer works at Sucker Punch, when you look back, and they're like, yeah, I would do it again or whatever. I to me, that's like a Joker type moment of like, and here we go, like they had some understanding to a degree of like what they were doing. And it's hard for me to feel bad that they got fired because it's like, yeah, you fucked it up for your team, dude. You fucked it up for your team. You know that. They know that. Do you know how pissed? And that's the thing. Like, do you know how many just normal, decent, regular people are working at Sucker Punch and at all of PlayStation right now? Well, yeah, my bad, Irfan. I keep fucking that up. I'm sorry. Do you know how many just like regular, normal people who are just like, we just want to make a good game and make gamers happy, man. Like that's all we want to do. Why do you have to have that level of selfishness? And trust me, there were people who were much angrier, probably internally and at other studios that are just like, this is fucking crazy. So anyway, we're going to move on from that. I wanted to talk to you guys about this upcoming show. So, yes, JMR. The answer's yes, bro. The answer's yes. Well, B-Flesher, maybe they still will. It's hard to say. Just, I guess, keep an eye out. That's all you can do at this point. Oh, wait. You're saying, MBG, nothing on adding PC to the trophy list on PlayStation? I think that's been a thing for a while, dude. I think that's been a thing for a while. Right? Any game that's on PC for PlayStation or like a PlayStation Studios title, first party title that's also on PC, if you look at the trophy list, it'll say like PS5 and PC. So I'm fairly certain that that's not new. Yeah, like when Ghost of Tsushima went to PC, I think that's when they announced it. Fair games? Oh God. The reality that we're probably going to see fair games next week. Yo, apparently Leon's getting revealed for Resident Evil 9, though. But look, I have this report here from Push Square, and their original story is as follows. They say Sony has hosted either a major state of play or PlayStation showcase every September for the past 6 years, and it doesn't look like it's about to change in 2025. Reports over the past couple of weeks have suggested the PS5 maker has something in store between now and the end of the month, and now the incredibly reliable leaker Nate the Hate has said their piece on the matter. In response to a user on social media, as my screen blacks out for a second, hold on. Nate the Hate simply said, quote, Sony has a presentation soon, end quote. This is assumed to be a state of play live stream, but Giant Bomb, member Jeff Grubb suggested last month that Sony is leaning that way over using a PlayStation showcase branding. But there was an update to this story. It says Nate the Hate has now doubled down on his suggestion, if I could read, of an imminent PS5 live stream, now claiming that the showcase, he didn't say showcase, but that the show that's going to take place will happen next week. So this is, I think, like 3 separate sources at this point, all 3 of which are considered very reliable sources, saying that Sony is doing a show and it's happening Well, now we're getting at least one of them saying it is officially happening next week. So when we look at next week, what dates are most likely? Well, next week starts, the work week anyway, Monday the 22nd, Tuesday the 23rd, Wednesday the 24th, Thursday the 25th. Now, what's important to note about the 25th is that is when Tokyo Game Show begins, and Sony's going to have a significant presence at Tokyo Game Show, at least on the floor. They have one of the biggest areas for Tokyo Game Show. I think we're looking at a Tuesday show. That's what I think. I think we're looking. You think Wednesday? Wednesday could work too. Actually, maybe. Yeah, I guess it depends. If they have things that they want to show at Tokyo Game Show that haven't yet been announced, then I think either Tuesday the 23rd or Wednesday the 24th works. The question, though, really, I think at this point, I mean, could they do it on the same day as Tokyo Game Show? That's a possibility. But I just get the sense that they want to host this show before TGS kicks off. Because keep in mind, this is important to keep in mind as well. On the 25th, that's when Ghost of Yote reviews go live as well, which I'm sure is going to make for a pleasant conversation. Wouldn't you all agree? But the 25th, there's a lot going on that day. You have Tokyo Game Show kicking off. You have Ghost of Yote reviews going out. I feel like if Sony were to do a show the same day, it's gonna. I don't know. That seems like a bit too much at one time, at the same time. Like all happening on literally like within hours of one another. I don't think that makes the most sense. I think that. Well, I mean, there's also the possibility. Could they do it Friday? I don't think that they would do it Friday. I don't think that they would do a show after TGS starts if they're doing it next week. So I think Tuesday or Wednesday is looking like the date. And, the question that everybody has at this point isn't whether or not Sony's going to have a show. It's will this, and I still see people asking me this on Twitter constantly, is it going to be a state of play or a showcase? Now, I wish I could answer that question. All I feel like I can say is that if this were to be a showcase, or if it is going to be a showcase, I would have to imagine the announcement comes very soon, certainly before the end of this week. I don't think Sony, it's hard, I try not to like base my predictions or assumptions off of what they've done previously because they're always changing things up. But generally speaking, the rule of thumb is if you're doing a showcase, you give like at least 4 days in advance, sometimes a week. Microsoft gives it like a month in advance. So I will say if we go into Saturday with no showcase announcement, at that point, I'm 100% certain it's going to be a state of play. Right now, though, I do feel like it's going to be a state of play. I have this feeling that it's kind of like what you guys were saying. I think Sony has rebranded. What does the subreddit say? Well, what's interesting is that Nate the Hate, he said a presentation is coming. And I think he did that purposely because it seems like every insider doesn't know. Like they know when it's happening, but they don't know if it's going to be branded a state of play or showcase. And I think because of that, you have Jeff Grubb saying maybe it's a showcase, but probably a state of play. You have Tom Henderson just flat out calling it a state of play. And then you have Nate the Hate saying it'll be a presentation. So, could it just be a massive state of play? It very well could be. The big thing that I try to let people know and remind people of like pretty consistently is that at this moment in time, Sony has a lot they could show. Like there are many studios we haven't heard from in a long time. I'm talking both single player games, live service games. I'm just saying first party in general. Sony has a lot that they could show. And if you look at the way Sony's been handling state of play for the past like 2.5 years or 2 years or so, they've always ended their state of plays with something first party, but they've never done like a big blowout for first party at the end of a state of play. They've always just done one, maybe two announcements at most, but one of those announcements is usually something more minor, like here's Until Dawn remake, which is cool, but like not a massive colossal announcement. And then we're gonna end it with Astrobot. Yeah, they kind of trickle it out. So, I try to keep in mind that the Game Awards is also right around the corner, happening in December, and Sony absolutely cares about the Game Awards big time. So, the way Sony, I think, is most likely to do it, and some people might be disappointed in this, but I just think that this is the most likely way. They're probably going to do a state of play and have 1 to 3 things. I think 3 is like the max. 1 to 3 first party things for that state of play. And I think one of them will be Wolverine. And I think that's going to be the big pop. The other things could be like the marathon, re-reveal, and maybe that 2.5D God of War game or something. Or Saros. Yeah, Saros actually I think makes even more sense. Yeah, Saros does make the most sense actually. And that'd be great. That'd be a pretty sick state of play. But then I think whatever other first party things that we would have expected, like where's intergalactic gameplay or where is that 2.5D God of War game or where's any of this stuff? I think you could see it reasonably show up at the Game Awards because that is the Game Awards is the biggest, show of the year. And that's the thing. Or if you're mentioning Marvel Tokon, a new trailer, like that's another first party thing. Here's going to be the giveaway. I'll tell you right now. The giveaway, whether, because I think we're so focused on the branding, which is understandable. Like, is it a showcase? Is it a state of play? Which is it here? I care about that too, but I think the giveaway more than anything will be the time of the show. And what I mean by time is like how long it's going to be. Every time Sony puts out an announcement of a show, they tell you in the blog post how long of a show it's going to be. And their last showcase was an hour long. Their last like 5 stated plays have all been 40 minutes long. So could we see them come out and be like, we're doing a stated play, it's going to be an hour long. It's going to be 60 minutes. It's possible. And if they do that, I would say get excited. If they come out and they're doing an hour-long show, I would say get excited. If they're doing a 40-minute state of play, I would still say get excited, but not as excited. Like I don't think this is going to be the massive like showcase. Like we got like 6 different first-party things for you lined up. I don't think it's going to be that. But I think the timing of it will essentially tell us what we can expect. If they come out and they say it's a state of play, it's 40 minutes, I'm going to say take a good look at the last like 4 stated plays. That's what you can expect. And I'm not against that. I don't have a problem with that. I think the last like 4 stated plays were all good. And if they end it with Wolverine, like, yeah, I'm going to lose my shit. Judas re-reveal, it's possible. They did just put something out on the PlayStation blog for Judas. Oh, that would be incredible. If Saros gets a dedicated state of play, that would be even better. You know what? Yeah, maybe that actually maybe makes more sense, dude. Maybe Saros doesn't show up at this show. And the reason being is because maybe in the next month or two, they're going to have a dedicated state of play. And at the end of that state of play, they'll give you a release date for 2026. It's going to be January, February, March. That actually makes more sense. And that would be even better. I'd be stoked for that. I have very high expectations for Saros, man. You don't want them showing mediocre games. 0 Point, I disagree with that, bro. I mean, that's fine. You're not the only one that feels that way, but I enjoyed the last state of plays. Now, maybe the last one I was a little bit let down because I was not as nearly as stoked for Marvel Tokon as many people were. But generally speaking, like I've kind of enjoyed knowing that at the end there's going to be a major first party reveal. That was always exciting. Am I going to play Dying Light and Battlefield? We'll see. Yeah, I'm still playing Metal Gear. Now I'm playing some Skate. Dying Light looks really good. Battlefield looks good. I'll keep you guys updated with the games I buy and play. You know I will. The May State of Play had a great third. Well, yeah, so yeah, Silent Hill F I want to play. Yeah. I'm hearing it's getting really good reviews. GC Edit, yeah, how'd that happen, buddy? Oh, is it because you probably because you bought the more premium edition of Dying Light 2? I think they said that anybody who bought the premium edition of Dying Light 2, you were promised like DLC, and I think this is what they're giving it or giving to you as like the free DLC, even though it's like a full blown game. That's pretty sick. Yeah, it's really cool of them to do that. Guarantee they show the Horizon multiplayer. Yeah, dude, where is that game? Michael in the chat says, sorry, I'm at work and I got called to save the world, but have no fear, I am here. Well, they definitely answered your call, Michael. They answered your call, bro. They got us to 170 likes. And Michael Wernick comes in and he's good on his word. He drops a 20 bomb for you guys. 20 memberships dropped from the sky from Michael. And that's his way of helping us get more likes too. It's very effective. Thank you for that, Michael. You know I appreciate your continued support, buddy, and I will add that to the goal. And yeah, if you guys want to help contribute to the goal, you want to help the channel, there are a few ways you can do that. Become a channel member, gift memberships, drop a super chat, drop a direct donation. These are all ways in which you can, help fund the channel and fund what I do here. We are totally fan funded. We keep the channel sponsor free, which is the way I prefer it. I think a lot of people prefer it that way, and I'm very grateful that we can do it that way. So yeah, if it's within your means and you enjoy the content and we want to help support directly, please consider doing so.
Holy
And that's for
shit.
Michael dropping the 20 bomb on us. Good stuff, man. Is there a state of play announced? It's not announced yet, no. But Nate the Hate said pretty definitively, he just straight up said it's happening next week. He didn't say whether it's a state of play or a showcase, but he said the show, whatever it's going to be, is happening next week. So I wonder if we will get more info. I don't necessarily want things to leak. I think at this point, all we really want to know is if it's going to be a showcase or not. Why does my screen keep doing that, dude? Okay. Sorry, my screen keeps glitching out a little bit. It's very annoying. You think Wolverine will blow people away? I have very high hopes for Wolverine, man. I have very high hopes for Wolverine. Like, I think I don't want to get like ahead of myself, but I think Wolverine could truly be a standout game. That I think Wolverine could be like a beacon type game if they do it right. If they nail it the way that I believe they need to nail it, I think it could be a beacon game to like rally people again and be like, here, like finally, like here we fucking go. Like we've been waiting for this. Not to say that the other games we've been getting are not that, but I think you understand what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Damn, Shems. I think you may have misheard me a little bit there, but it's all good, bro. It's all good. They're gonna open the trailer with Wolverine just like straight up, like ripping somebody in half or something. Listen, I don't know what exactly to expect with Wolverine, but I have this feeling that Insomniac has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, which is a good thing. I think Insomniac is one of the last studios that feel like they have something to prove, which is fair because they've been around for decades and they've done a great job almost every time. Like they're They're a very history and storied studio. But I think with the hack that came out and a lot of people suddenly being down on Wolverine and this game, I think it lit a bit of a fire where like now they're like, we want to. I guess what I'm trying to say is when they show this trailer, and I'm not, maybe I am getting ahead of myself and I'm overhyping myself and I'm going to be let down. I would hope not, but I just had this feeling that they put together a trailer that's gonna basically make people go, "Holy shit, bro!" Like that type of trailer, like that type of like, okay, all right, okay, they're cooking with fire. Um, but we got to see it. I'm sorry, Janeway. Like I could be wrong. I always try to see the other side of it. I could be wrong. It could be like, you know what? Yeah, like that's what I'm hoping for. Petrov, that would be crazy. Hanzo says he saw it in his dreams. All the hype dies down when games or movies go MIA, and then they go up again when they show. Yeah. Well, I think there will be hype no matter what. But I just think like there are people like myself, and I because I know I'm not the only one where it's like, dude, this could be the dream game. It could. Like it has that potential. It's not often you get such a potent combination of like the perfect studio for your favorite character, you know? And yeah, man, I would love to walk away from what I see with Wolverine being like this game has the potential. I know it sounds crazy, but to be like a game of the generation. I'm just saying that's what I'm hoping for. I think we're all hoping for that. But yeah, man. They've definitely been working on it for a long time. Could this show surpass E3 2016? I doubt that. Truthfully, I don't think Sony. I don't know if they'll ever be able to top E3 2016, bro. Especially with that God of War reveal, that was crazy. I think that was like, even at the time, I don't think people quite fully understood. Like, whoa, it was like a historic moment for PlayStation right now. Patrick, no. Maybe one day it could be though. One day it could be. Sony made history with that. Yeah, there was a. That's the thing about that E3 2016 showcase is it was like every announcement was like a pop, and I don't know what leak culture was like then. That's the thing is I wasn't covering gaming the way I've been covering it for like the last 6 or 7 years. So I don't know if like things leaked out prior to that show or like people knew or like it was being circulated that Sony Ben's got a big AAA like zombie biker game. I don't know if it was leaking out about the God of War thing. I don't know if that was a situation where people were like genuinely like, yo, like Spider-Man and Detroit. Yeah. I don't know if people were truly caught off guard. It seems like with God of War, people were truly caught off guard with that. That was like a real like, oh my God, what is happening moment, Sony had a lot of those last gen, and this gen it feels like they haven't had many of those specific moments. And I think a lot of people want that. That's why I think Wolverine could be that. It really could if they nail it. Jay says, salute to the channel membership. PlayStation Pete with a $10 chat says, Robert Redford passed away yesterday. Yeah, I saw that. Rest in peace to Robert Redford. And you're saying, bought my friend 30th anniversary PS5 Pro console. Scott Bio was also on Love Boat. He had to throw that in there. Remind me. Love Boat. Oh my God, man. Bought Yote controller and Metroid Amiibo and game. PlayStation Pete, you're saying you bought your friend. When you say you bought him the 30th anniversary PS5 Pro console, do you mean I mean I'm assuming from like eBay or something? That had to have been expensive. But that's quite a gift for your friend, man. That's crazy. I was just talking about that earlier. The PS5 Pro bundle. I was talking about that with Mrs. MBG, and I was saying how I find it funny that Sony sold almost every aspect of that bundle outside of the Pro itself separately, except for um the charging stand. Like that's the only way you can get the gray looking charging stand. Pretty sure anyway. I thought that was kind of funny where it's like they'll sell everything else except that separately. StockX 3K. God damn, PlayStation Pete 3K. Well, I hope your friend knows that he's got a good friend because that's crazy, man. That's a really that's a huge gift. $3,000 gift. Good stuff. Thank you for the super chat, PlayStation Pete. And thank you for the support, man. You wanted the paperclip? I have the paperclip, Ms. Biz. I do have the paperclip. I hope I didn't lose it. I may have lost it. It's got to be somewhere. But I have the paperclip. Would I play Ghost of Yotay Legends with the community? Probably, depending on how they handle it. Maybe, yeah. If it's simple to do, we've done that before with Helldivers. Shadows DLC looked pretty cool. A Spider-Gwen game. Yeah, well, like we talked about in the last stream, apparently the Venom game is real. The Venom game is real, and the most interesting thing about what we talked about with Venom, as I said, I won't go on down that road again, just because we just talked about it in the last stream. But the most fascinating part to me about that Venom game is the fact that it may be targeting 2027, and yeah, I think it's going to be a PS6 launch title. Eddie Brock and Sindri. Yeah, they're going to do a crossover, bro. Yeah, they were doing that. They were doing like a multiplayer Spider-Verse game. It seemed like it didn't get very far in development and it ended up getting canceled, but it was being pitched as GTA Online, but with Spider-Man. That was the pitch, apparently, which is crazy. That's a crazy pitch. But I think that they kind of realized that maybe this isn't a good idea. They'll probably have a new Ratchet and Clank for the PlayStation 6. Yeah. Well, on PC, they have a mod, I think, 0 Point, where you can do co-op play with Spider-Man. Which is funny because apparently it's like it works really well. So it makes you wonder why they decided not to do that. I imagine eventually they will do something multiplayer with Spider-Man. I think they'll do something. I don't know if it'll be a full-blown like live service. Again, I think they tried that and they're like, that's not going to work. But maybe something similar to like Ghost of Yotay Legends or Ghost of Tsushima Legends, or maybe some of the add-on multiplayer components that we saw in the past for like Uncharted and The Last of Us, something along those lines, or just straight up co-op. That would make a lot of sense. You would have loved a Rift Apart multiplayer arena shooter. Love the mechanics in the game. That actually is interesting. Yeah, that would have been an interesting multiplayer add-on. Oh, hold on one sec, guys. MBG, do you think upgrading from the PS5 Pro is worth it? Or is it smarter to wait for the PS6? Well, there have been many games that have taken advantage of the PS5 Pro. I think it's unfortunate to see that they're just games that are coming out like not ready, like Metal Gear. And I see apparently, I'm not a Borderlands fan, but apparently Borderlands is not doing well performance wise. Like Borderlands seems to be getting like kind of crushed because of how well it's not running on a console specifically, and apparently it's not PS5 Pro enhanced. So, it's a situation where the PS5 Pro itself, when it's taken advantage of, is fantastic. And most of the time it is taken advantage of. But, there is that like just slight layer of disappointment that lies in the fact that you're seeing devs kind of rush their games out. And because of that, it's either not optimized well for the Pro or just not even considered. And that aspect of it is a little bit frustrating. So, I mean, what I would say to do for now, if you're torn on the PS5 Pro, is wait till next year for that big PSSR update to come out and see what games are going to take advantage of it. And maybe then it would be worth it. But at the same time, though, and, I'm trying to consider the fact that at the same time, the PS6 is apparently targeting holiday 2027. So, I mean, you might just be better off waiting, to be honest, by that point. So it's like a 50-50 thing. Because like I was telling you to wait till next year, but to be honest, if you're willing to wait till next year, then you may as well just wait for the PS6. Because everything we're hearing, the PS6 is coming holiday 2027. So you might just have to wait another. And also, it just depends on like your view of it. It's not going to be cheap to buy a PS5 Pro. Maybe your financial situation would make a difference in your purchasing decision, where if you're not tight on money, or money's just not really a problem, buying the Pro and using it for about 2 years, if you use it a lot, might feel worth it to you. And then you move on to the next generation and get a PS6. But yeah, I would say if like, if you're trying to optimize and only spend a large sum of money on a console one time, maybe just waiting for the PS6 would be the way to go at that point. Yeah. PS6 will launch with NAC 3. We can only hope. We can only hope. Just got here. Is the State of Play confirmed by Sony for next week? The State of Play has not officially been announced by Sony yet, but Nate the Hate, who is incredibly reliable, he's been on point. He said it is happening next week. So, in other words, any moment now, whether it's today or tomorrow, they might even hold off until announcing it till Monday, but the announcement is going to come in the coming days. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like we're going to have to wait that long. Knack Nicholson? What? James Hetfield versus Kratos? Wait. That's a weird crossover. You're interested in the rumored handheld, but not ready for a PS6? See, Big Nabs, I know there are a lot of people who feel that exact same way. That's how Sony's going to get you. That's how Sony's going to get you, man, because that handheld is technically going to be a PlayStation 6. So that's interesting that you say that, because I know there are many people who feel that way. The handheld will launch with proprietary memory cards? No, I don't think so. I think they've learned from that. I think they've learned not to do that. We have what I've been hearing about the handheld is the big question is like, will the handheld even be able to have games looking and running as good as a base PS5? Everything I'm hearing about it is apparently it's going to run them. It should theoretically run them better. And it has everything to do with the next generation architecture. The next generation architecture, it's going to produce. It's gonna do some pretty heavy lifting, I guess you could say. Yeah, you got it, Wes. Um, yeah, that's what I was hearing. Jim Ryanfield. Pixel per inch, bro. Well, on paper, Alma, the PlayStation 6 handheld is on paper, specification wise, like slightly less than the base PS5. The big thing here, apparently, is there's two things. There's like two big factors here, three technically. So number one, RDNA 5 compute units. One RDNA 5 compute unit in an RDNA 5 GPU is like 75. What is it? What was the percentage they put out? Like 75% faster? It's like significantly faster. Like it's like way beyond a single compute unit in the base PS5. The base PS5 is using RDNA 2 compute units. So and that's true, Devil Shooter. Yeah, it doesn't mean, yeah, we can't, you can only infer so much based on paper specs. Digital Dude, why? Like, bro, what the anyway. Do you think we get a PS6 Pro? Yeah. So RDNA 5 compute units, that's what's going to be in the PlayStation 6 handheld. Number two is RAM, memory. A lot of people are making comparisons with the the PlayStation 6 handheld to something like the Xbox Series S, but it seems like the general understanding and agreement is that it's kind of the memory in the split memory in the Series S that really is what kind of stopped it from being able to do more and kind of holding things back a little bit, right? That seems to be where some developers got hung up on it. According to the leaks, this PlayStation 6 handheld is going to have an adequate amount of memory. It's going to have a lot of memory. So that, or a lot of RAM, that shouldn't be a limiting factor. And so the only other thing here is that in terms of making games look as good as base or better than base PS5 games, this is where you're going to see PSSR shine. This is where you're really going to see, yes, we can have this game running on this handheld at an internal resolution of like 720p or lower. But what you're going to see is going to look like native 4K or 1440p. And it'll be able to hit, I mean, you would assume I don't know if it'll hit 60 FPS. That's the thing. I mean, it seems like it might. I think that's the big question because apparently this handheld will be able to be docked. So it could be a situation where if it's docked, you can hit 60. If it's not, you'll be limited to 30. We'll see. But yeah, man, there's like multiple factors to consider. Again, we have to see it in action. I'm not telling you for sure expect games to look and run better on the handheld PlayStation 6 than a base PS5. I don't know for sure, but based off of the technology that's going to be implemented, it seems like this is it. Like this is the moment that many people have been waiting for, and that basically a lot of engineers at Sony have been waiting for. Where it's like, by the year 2027, can we basically put out an affordable, portable PlayStation 5? And the answer is seemingly going to be yes, we can. Now, the question of affordability, I mean, it's not going to be like cheap, you know? Yeah, that would be crazy. That's going to be the crazy part. You're saying, MBG, pretty sure when you dock it, you can also attach a disk drive to the dock. That's going to be fascinating to see. Because if they do that, that signals 100% like Sony just made their own Switch. They just made the PlayStation Switch, basically. just wait for Road to PS6 by Mark Cerny. Do you think it'll handle physical media similar to the Portal where the game needs to be in the console to play it? Yes. Yeah, I do think so. The more I think about it, the more I think that this is going to be Sony leaning into, like, this is how they're going to signal that they're definitely leaning way into digital, where it's like, you know, most people are buying digital, so it'll be an incentive essentially. Like, if you're willing to buy digital and you buy this handheld and the home console, it'll all work together. If you want to buy physical, you can, but yeah, you're going to need that disc to be in the drive to use it in the handheld potentially. Sony did a Portal. I don't know how many FPS, but everyone is loving it with little to no specs. Well, that's the thing. I don't think every game. Something that probably should be made clear with this PlayStation 6 handheld is this is Sony leveraging their market share. This is Sony leveraging their market share as well as Nintendo's, actually. Sony is understanding that any game that's going to be made to be playable on PlayStation, well, let's face it, who has the traditional home console market share? Sony does. Sony's the market leader with the traditional home console. Okay, what console, what console is at the center of that? The PlayStation 5. So it's like I've said many times before, Sony's going to be very mindful of the fact that 99% of devs are probably going to make their game cross-gen with the PS5. So if they're going to make their game cross-gen with the PS5, why not have a handheld, offering that won't interfere with that? And that's the key, is it shouldn't interfere with it, where it's like, listen, if you're making a PS6 version and you're already making a PS5 version, you have to do pretty much nothing to get this thing running. Like, if you get your game running on the PS5, it will run on this handheld. And Sony, are they putting I don't say they're putting pressure on the developer, but Sony is banking on the developer understanding that it's PlayStation, they have a shit ton of market share, and it would be, in our best interest if we're going to get this game running on PS5, it might just be in our best interest to just make sure it can play on the handheld as well. And it should be very easy. Yeah, they've already put out like the low power mode, and that's why I was talking about that. The low power mode update rolled out officially, and there's games already taking advantage of it. I think Ghost of Yote, Demon Souls, Death Stranding 2. And so essentially what you may be looking at right now, is these are the first 3 games that are going to be playable on this PlayStation handheld natively. And so there is a chance that if you boot up your PS5 right now and enable power saving mode for one of these 3 games, although Ghost isn't out yet, but if, let's say Demon Souls, what you're looking at, that's probably what you'll get on the handheld. So we might have it in front of us right now, essentially. Like, we might have an early glimpse at. I'm sure Digital Foundry will do an analysis of it. Oh, Josh, yeah, we did talk about that for like the first hour. We are excited. Most of us, we're feeling it. We're feeling pretty good. Is the hype man back? Not. I'm feeling pretty hyped, but not. I'm not going overboard. Not yet. If they announce a showcase, I'll bring the hype man back. Yeah, we'll be back. If they announce a state of play, I'll still be excited, but not going to go crazy. Not going to go nuts over it, How long do we think it'll take the PS6 to achieve 50% from the PlayStation market share? Assuming they're still tracking PS4 too. Mm, I think it'll take a little bit longer this time. I don't know. I think it all hinges on how people take to the handheld because Sony will count the PlayStation 6 handheld as a PS6 sale, especially if it's dockable. That will be a PS6 sale. Um, I want you to think of this for a second, right? Like, I want you to picture the Nintendo Switch 2. And I want you to go back to when the Nintendo Switch 2 was revealed and everything they're showing and you're watching the reveal event. But then at the end or in the second half, they say we actually have a second console we're going to announce alongside the Switch 2. And it is just the Nintendo home console. And it's not, it's literally just that. It's a much more powerful Nintendo home console. And what they're saying is if you don't care about portability and you don't care about gaming on the go, you can buy this. And this will run games even better at the best they can possibly be. And you'll get all of Nintendo's games on it. Every single one. And third party. Now, obviously, that is impossible to really imagine because it's like, well, what does that mean about game key cards? But you get what I'm saying. Like, that's pretty much what Sony's going to do with the PS6. Now, I'm not saying they're going to market it that exact way, but yeah, like the PS6 is Sony going after the Switch. That's what it's going to be. Oh, I have to shut my windows. Pouring outside. And again, I know that people, the first question that comes to mind when people think about that, they're like, oh my God, does this mean the handheld's going to be like weak like a Switch 2? Well, let's face it, the Switch 2 is still kind of weak compared to what's coming up. Does this mean that the PlayStation 6 handheld is going to hold back the generation? And it's like, dude, I know you're going to see those people come out and they'll be like, but what about what you guys said about the Series S? Dude, the Series S it was too early, man. But this isn't about this. Like, they're not comparable. Simply put, this PlayStation 6 handheld will not be comparable to the Series S. And the reason for that is because this next generation architecture coming from AMD is leaps and bounds what was ready to go and available with AMD's RDNA 2. And that is so important to understand. Now, the real question that people need to be asking about this PlayStation 6 handheld is price range. That's the real question. Because I'm telling you, Sony is looking to thread that needle. Sony wants to be able to come out and say, hey, before you buy that Switch 2, check this out. We are offering the same thing, except it runs games even better. You're not going to have to compromise nearly as much. That, I think, is what Sony's trying to achieve with this. Yeah, UDNA features, exactly. Yeah, plus the Amethyst collaboration with PSSR. There's a lot of Sony. I'm telling you, man, I think Mark Cerny's fucking cooking, bro, with this handheld. I really do. Like, I think this is going to be his kind of like swan song potentially, where he's going to thread that fucking needle of like, guess what? You're going to like, if you're not interested in the PS6, you're going to be interested in this handheld. Because even if you're somebody who wants to just stick with the PS5, this is going to be that. Like, I think the portable PlayStation dream is going to finally be truly realized. I think Sony always wanted to do this. They wanted to do it with the PSP. They wanted to do it with the Vita. And I think what made it almost impossible to truly realize it back then is just different architectures. The uniformity was not there. The compatibility, the scalability, it was, and so because it wasn't there, just different versions of games needed to be made. And I think that this is where we see that finally come to an end, where it's like, like, I mean, I do wonder, like, this Demon Souls low power mode, how much effort went into that? Maybe, I don't know, maybe more effort had to go into it than I would realize, but I think we also have to keep in mind that, PC is a limiting factor too, right? Like, if more games are going to go to PC, or if they're planned for PC, well, they're already going to scale down for PC to begin with. And I understand that, like, well, again, what about all these arguments for the Series S? But again, this is why I'm just saying I don't think these things are comparable, because people, like, dude, from day one, and maybe there will be a catch 22 with the PlayStation 6 handheld. Maybe there will be a catch 22 where we'll get the specs and devs will say that's a problem. But again, with Mark Cerny being the one behind it, I don't expect that. I don't recall Mark Cerny ever putting out a piece of hardware where developers were like, bro, this is a potential serious issue for us, or something that might get in the way. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but yeah, and I think it's that too. Sony wants to get more market share back in Japan. Um, so I don't think Nintendo will have to feel threatened by it, by the way. Like, when I say it's Sony going after Nintendo, I just mean, like, Nintendo made it abundantly clear to everybody that people want a handheld, and they will support a hybrid handheld that can be docked. I know that we're existing in this time where you're getting all these premium handhelds where you have stuff like, the Xbox ROG Ally and the Steam Deck and all these things. Well, the Steam Deck is pretty. How much does a Steam Deck go for? They're pretty affordable now, right? But we are seeing, like, the pricing going up, where it's like, here's a $1,200 handheld, and it's for an extremely niche market. I think with this handheld that Sony's going to make, they're going for a mass market, and it's just fascinating, man. Because yes, Sony is taking a two-prong approach with next gen. They're taking a two-prong approach. Jake, thank you for that, buddy. And I think Sony's planning on, like, my assumption is that Sony's going to count a PS6 home console sale and a PlayStation 6 handheld sale as the same. So, like, when we get a sales update, let's say like a year into the PS6, and they say we sold like, I don't know, what was it, like 17 million or something. I don't know, just some random number. I think that's going to be counting both. The question is, will they give us a separation of, like, here's how many of the handheld we sold, here's how many of the home console. Um, but I'm telling you, man, like, somebody at Sony, maybe it's Mark Cerny, maybe it's Hideaki Nishino, somebody at Sony understands, like, they fundamentally understand that no matter how you approach next gen, you're going to see people be more stubborn staying on PS5 than ever before. You're not going to see them move, dude. So you need to have a more ingenious approach to this. Something that's going to be something that people didn't even realize was going to get them over to PS6. Something that they weren't expecting. And I know for a lot of people, it's like exclusives, and we'll see what they do with that. Because no matter what, like, yeah, Nintendo will have exclusives. That's a guarantee. So the only way Sony could fight that is by fighting fire with fire, where if they want to, you know, if they want to win over the Nintendo crowd, they could probably do so successfully by having exclusives. Will they do that? Time will tell. It would be wild to play a Venom game in handheld. Secretly, I'm hoping for an OLED screen. I don't think we're going to get. They might have a variation at some point, but no, it's going to be tough. I think the toughest needle for Sony to thread with this handheld is going to be affordability, where they do not want to compromise on specs. There's a minimum spec they have to hit to make this work. But the real question is, like, how much is it going to come to? And how much would we have to sell it? How much of a loss would we have to sell it at to keep it within a reasonable price range? I think it's clear that that Sony wants to price this handheld in line with the Switch 2. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that too. 500, 550. I think Sony's hoping that when people are shopping online for a handheld, they're debating between getting a Switch or PlayStation 6 handheld. And I think another thing that Sony will have as an advantage here, maybe I'm wrong on this, but and that's the thing is like, well, how could Sony have a handheld that's so much more powerful, but still that affordable? Well, that's the benefit of working directly with AMD and waiting for their next gen architecture. Their next gen architecture will like the next gen UDNA architecture from AMD will essentially allow you to do more for less ultimately, thanks to the advancements that have been made. Um, so that's kind of the nature of Sony waiting for just the right time. Um, again, there could be some factors we're not completely aware of yet, but like for all I know, this thing could come out and be $600. Maybe that is a thing that will happen, but I think Sony is kind of maybe hoping that the PlayStation 6. So think of it this way. If Sony's going to position, or sorry, if Nintendo is positioned as the more colorful, more family friendly, it's Nintendo. That's what they're bright, they're family friendly, they're universal in that sense. I think Sony's going to do what they do best and position their handheld as we're the more mature. If you want to, go with that. We're the more premium, you know. We're the more serious, slightly more serious. Um, like I think that distinction will be clear. And I think the fact that it's going to be part of the PlayStation 6 family, I think Sony is banking on that. I really do. Like I think Sony is hoping people are going to shit their pants when they come out and they show this handheld and they say, and this is the PlayStation 6 handheld. And then they're going to show you what games look like running on it. And I think they're going to give you a price of maybe like 550, 500. And I think they're going to show you can dock it. And I think Sony's hoping that people are going to shit their pants and be like, how? Like how is this possible? And I think that's the work we've done with AMD. That is UDNA technology. That is, and that's the beauty of it though, is right. If it's like, well, why would I be impressed with that? That's not next gen. That's like you're showing me what we already have, but in handheld. I want next gen. That's when Sony's gonna be like, well, let us show you Bloodborne Remake running on a PlayStation 6 then. And then I think, if you didn't already shit your pants, now you're gonna shit your pants. Maybe I'm wrong, dude. Look, I could be totally wrong, and maybe none of this is gonna happen, and Sony's gonna have like a disastrous PS6 reveal, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, you fucked it up." But I have a hunch that like Sony is. I don't know. Maybe this is where I don't know enough about how the executives inside of Sony operate. I think they might be aware that like. Not that PlayStation's losing its luster. I mean, maybe it is to a degree for some people, but you're just gonna have to do so much more this time. Like you don't have as much momentum anymore. You don't have the same inertia that's just gonna carry you. Because let's face it, Sony could have done almost anything with the PS5, and it's just like, yeah, you're gonna fucking kill it. They had that type of momentum. I think that's been halved this time. I think they do still have momentum. I think they still have some inertia, and that will carry a certain number of people right over to the PS6 no matter what they show. But I think they're just going to have to do so much more this time. And God, man, it's going to be exciting. I think, like, even if it turns out to be not exactly what we think, I think it'll still be very exciting to see how they pair these things together and market them. And I don't know, man. I want to see Sony go crazy. That's what I want to see. If that's exciting, then why don't you go buy a PS Portal right now? Yeah, I was just thinking about that earlier. I'm like, I really got to get a Portal. But I don't know. I'm like starting to think like, should I just wait for the? Because if they do if they do release the handheld at the same time, I'm going to be getting like 2 consoles at once, which would be crazy. And Ray, Metal Gear Ray, a member for 48 months, he says, "Don't forget Sony finished the chip plant that they started in 2022 and 23 so they can make their own chips for other products and themselves cheaper." Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about that. I don't know when that's going to be ready though. Usually that takes a long time to get up and running, but it could be ready in time for that. Apparently, from what we're hearing from the leaks, I think from Moore's Law is Dead, he's saying that everything seems to be on track to begin manufacturing in mid 2027 in preparation for a holiday 2027 launch. So you're saying they have negative momentum, LMAO, anti-hype is real, PS6 is cooked. You know, it's I don't think that's true. Maybe I don't know. It's really difficult to determine because all it takes is one announcement to turn. If there's listen, man, if there's something that I've learned over the years of covering this stuff is that literally it can just take one show, one announcement, one show, just one big pop, and that can sometimes be enough to all right, now the wind is in your favor, you know. Um but that's the thing. I feel like Sony, they haven't had that, man. Like, and I'm just being real about it. This isn't a slight towards anybody who's excited for these. Like, I'm excited for these games, but Saros didn't do that. Intergalactic didn't do that. Ghost of Yote didn't do that. These games have a lot of fans and supporters and people, and I'm one of them, for especially for Saros. Like, these games are not going to, I think, fail. But those were the last 3 announcements we got first party, and none of them. The biggest pop that I saw was for Saros, and that was not, like, it's no offense to Housemark, but I mean, I think that game has the potential to be a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. But I understand that for a lot of other people, they're like, I'm not sure what this is, and I didn't play Returnal, and I'm not sure. But this is why I'm saying, like, this next show that they do, I'm so curious to see how they handle it and what they show because I remember the last showcase Sony did in 2023, they thought they had the pop with Fair Games. And that to me was horrifying to watch, where it's like, you think this is a show opener, bro? What? And they were like, all right, if things go Ari, we're going to do Spider-Man 2 at the end, and that'll be the big pop. And it's like, don't get me wrong, Spider-Man 2, people were like, yeah, this looks good, but it didn't save that. It didn't save them. And that's what modern Sony is missing. They're missing people who are in charge of deciding how things are going to be shown and when they're going to be shown, not realizing that you're missing the pop, bro. You're missing it. Perfect Image, you're saying I should get the Portal to play some premium titles and see the potential for the PS6 handheld as like a reference point. Yeah, I want to get a Portal at some point. I'm not against it. I haven't had much of a use case for it, but I'll get it. They thought they had the juice. Michael says, hello, new members. We appreciate you all. Yeah, Michael, dude, we're over 200 likes. We did it, bro. We did it. Jake Skew, a member for 22 months, says, what day do you think the state of play is going to be next week if the rumors are true? Now 22 months, mostly gifted subs, and some months by me. Thank you for the people who are gifting. Well, that's awesome to hear, Jake. Thank you for that, buddy. And yeah, thanks to everybody who drops member gifts. I was saying earlier that I think Tuesday or Wednesday is a pretty for sure thing. I think this coming Tuesday or Wednesday, we're going to be, spooling up a stream to react to the show. I don't think it's going to go after Wednesday because of Tokyo Game Show. Get the Portal MBG so Mrs. MBG can try it since she does not have Switch 2 yet. Well, Mrs. MBG said she would be excited for a PlayStation handheld too. And that's what's interesting to me is like, I mean, she does play on PlayStation, of course, but I noticed like there was something she was just immediately kind of like, oh, like a handheld. And see, this is where I'm like, I think Sony knows what they're doing here. I think Sony knows exactly what they're doing. Sony Ben's Men in Black game got to be there. Yo, he's still hoping. Josh is still hoping for that Men in Black game, bro. Beast Mode says, I'm loving my Pro anniversary. Can't wait for the Yote plates. It's going to fit perfect. Since the middle of the Pro is gray and the bottom of the controller is gray for the Yote skins. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah, Beast Mode. That's awesome that you have the Pro 30th anniversary. Prince, you're saying the Portal is awesome. You took yours to Hawaii. That's sick. Alma, you're saying my wife said the exact same thing. She wants that PS6 handheld as well. Dude, this is what I'm saying. I think Sony knows. I think that PlayStation 6 handheld may prove to be like one of the smartest decisions that Sony makes going into next gen. And I think people are going to realize when they see what games look like and how they run on the PS6 that it's still going to look like absurd and awesome, Will it convince everybody that it looks next gen enough? I don't know. I'll leave that to PlayStation Studios to figure out and show it, but I think it's going to be an exciting time. Like, I think no matter how it goes, if people walk away from the PS6 being like, that doesn't really look as next gen as I had hoped, I'm just going to stick with my PS5 Pro. I think Sony is protected from having that negative aura around it because there's going to be an immense excitement for the handheld. This is why I think, like, both from just a strategic but also marketing standpoint, I think this handheld is going to do. I think it's going to do something for Sony that they haven't had in a long, long time. And I think the positive reception that they saw to the Portal, I think helped them. Like maybe say, yeah, we need to go for this. Like we need to really go all in with this. I think that definitely influenced their decision making. I think they were already considering it. I think that's why they did the Portal, because they want to test it. They want to see how people react. And if you look at the PS5 generation right now, it's basically a shadow. Maybe not a shadow. I think shadow is the wrong term to use. It's a it's like a foreshadow, I think, maybe is what we would call it, of what the PS6 generation is going to be like. Where think about it. You have at the highest end a PS5 Pro, which is taking advantage of the PSSR AI, and some games that are taking advantage of it look insanely good. It's like, holy shit, like this is amazing performance we're getting here and visuals. And then you have the base PS5, and then you have the Portal handheld. Now, there is a major difference here in that the Portal handheld does not need to be developed for. It's not, there's no dev kit for the Portal handheld. But I think when you look at that family of devices, you have the handheld, the base console, and the Pro. Effectively, what you're going to see is take out the Portal and take out the PS5 Pro, replace the Pro with the PS6, replace the Portal with the PS6 handheld. And the PS5, ironically enough, the base PS5 is still going to be there. Because I don't think Sony, I'm telling you, I do not think Sony's going to do like an S model, I don't think Sony's going to just drop a PS6 Pro at the launch of the PS6, where you're going to have a PS6 handheld, a base PS6, and a PS6 Pro. I don't think they're going to do that because they can't. They can't do that. The PS5 has to be that. It has to for the developer's sake. The developers are not going to want to move on from the PS5. They're not. They're not going to do it. Not anytime soon. And Sony, I think, understands that they cannot force that, especially when you have Nintendo out here with specifications that are less than a PS5. way less than a PS5 in some cases. And devs are all over trying to support it because of market share. Because of market share. So I think that's exactly what you're going to see. The PS5 remains. Replace the Pro with the PS6. Replace the Portal with the PS6 handheld. I think that's how it's going to be. This gen Series S was the PS4. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, well, exactly. And that's this gen. Yeah, we were also focused, or at least I was, on the Series S, and it's like, bro, you're going to be getting Black Ops 7 on the PS4 in the year 2025. Okay, so keep that in mind. Because I'll tell you, if you would ask me back in 2020, you think we're still going to be getting Call of Duty on PS4 in 2025? I said, hell no. 2025? No way. That's 5 years from now. Here we are, you know? And not just that, dude, games like Marvel Rivals getting backported. Resident Evil 9, to me, that's the game that signals it. RE9 is the signal. That game's getting a PS4 version, bro. Like, that should let you know that, yeah, bro, the PS5 is going to be here for like fucking ever. The PS5 is going to be the new PS2, essentially. But in a better way, where devs are not going to, I think, have to make separate PS5 versions. I don't think that that'll have to be a thing. But maybe I'm wrong. You know, I just, this is all just mass speculation on what I think Sony's going to do, what makes the most sense to me. I feel like I have a pretty well-rounded understanding of everything that is going into this, you know, from a business standpoint, from a market share standpoint, from, you know, a technological standpoint. I don't think I'm an expert in any one area, certainly not, but I think I just have enough understanding to form a well-rounded opinion that I think there's a very good chance that this is how it will play out. And, you know, any deviations that may turn up, I will be very curious what they will end up being and why. Because there is every chance that, you know, Sony could make some boneheaded decisions. That's, you know, every console manufacturer and platform holder runs the risk when you're starting a new generation. You can make some mistakes. And Jonathan, sorry about that, buddy. I don't know why. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, you're saying, hey, MBG, what games are you currently playing? Any performance updates on just Delta? I'm still playing Delta. I started playing Skate the other day, or yesterday, actually. And when it comes to performance updates for Delta, no, they just said they're working on it, man. And it seems clear to me that it's going to take some time. Yeah. Seems pretty clear to me that they just kind of were not ready to release this game, and they needed seemingly like weeks, maybe even a month or something, like a month of extra dev. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'll be honest, I've kind of given up on it in a sense, where I've just accepted that this version of the game I have is the game I'm going to experience, because maybe I'll still be playing it, you know, maybe I'll stay with it. Josh, I'll read that in just a second, bro. You know, hold on, I'm going to turn this on. But yeah, they said they're working on it.
Stay with me here. A grittier, creepy action game based on the concept/conspiracy of the Men in Black would be so fire, saving the world in the shadows.
Well, it's weird because we did get rumors, Josh. We did get rumors a while ago that Sony Bend was working on some kind of Men in Black game. That would be cool. Like if they really wanted to do something like that, but I have no idea what's going on, man. I'll be honest. I have absolutely no idea what's going on with Bend, and I don't really have much enthusiasm anymore for them, truthfully. And Jonathan comes in after using his milestone chat and gifts a membership. He's here to remind everybody that you can always drop single member gifts. Jonathan, thank you so much for that, buddy. I'll add that to the counter.
Thank you. Appreciate
Good
it.
stuff, bro. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, dude, like, something like that does sound like it could potentially be good and exciting, but I don't know, man. When it comes to Ben Studio, I'm still rooting for them at the end of the day. Like, I'm always going to root for these studios. I want PlayStation Studios to get better, not worse. But but I can't deny that like the excitement just isn't there anymore. And this is what I mean, where it's like Days Gone 2 could have been a pop, or at least something close to it. Instead, it's just like, how about we just do nothing, like for 5 years? How about we do nothing for a generation? Does that sound good to you guys? It's like, bro, I don't know. So I don't know. There's, I'm a little concerned, not majorly, but I have a slight concern with the way Sony, like, I'm starting to question, is Sony too hands off with their studios? Now, I know that they're scared, and they should be. There's like this fear of like, well, we got to be careful how hands on we want to get, because let's face it, regardless of your opinion of PlayStation Studios, there's no denying they have some of the most talented people working at these studios. They have some real talent. And the last thing you want to do is get so hands on and get so involved, like get to it, micromanage to a point where you start losing these people. They're like, we're going to go somewhere else. But I do have this slight concern that like maybe Sony has taken it a bit too far, where it's like, guys, it just sometimes feels like, do you even have control of some of these studios? Like, because I don't know how they could be that mismanaged at certain moments. It's like, bro, what? But I don't know. It's probably harder than I think. At this point, you think streamers make games popular and attract business? Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. But you don't want to be Microsoft either, where it's 8 years for a project. Well, yeah, I mean that's, you know, did anybody catch what Neil Druckmann said recently? We talked about it on the last stream, where he said that Intergalactic may end up being their most expensive game ever, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like, if I were Naughty Dog, I would be fucking scared. Mainly, not like terrified and like shaking in my boots, but Neil Druckmann stating that is fascinating to me, because it's like, you've seen the reaction to this game, right? And you're letting us know that it's going to be like the most expensive game. I'm like, oh, dude, that like, like, I'm fucking rooting for you, bro. Like, I want this game. I want Naughty Dog to prove everybody wrong. I want that. Like, come out here, show us a gamer ass game that the only thing you could say is, I don't like that this chick is bald, and that's it. And that's fine. But everything else is fucking spectacular. I'm rooting for that. But that's crazy that this is going to be their most expensive game. You're talking about the people who made Uncharted 4, The Last of Us 1 and 2. Shaved. My bad, Hanzo. And I just wonder how Sony's feeling about that. You know what I mean? Like, I think the idea is that Sony trusts their studios. I think Sony trusts their teams. I think if you're the person running PlayStation and PlayStation Studios, or you're in charge at the top, you probably feel like, how could you not trust your teams? I think people tend to forget like how many games that these teams have delivered that are getting, again, it's not just very good critical reception, but selling millions of copies. And that's why, not to bring it up again, but why like I'm hesitant to really acknowledge too extensively what's happening with Ghost of Yotay beyond what we already acknowledged, because it's like, I get that people are downvoting this trailer, and I get that people are like raging against every post that Sony makes of this game, but it's like, why do I still get the feeling that when it's all set, like, this is not going to be a Dragon Age situation? You get what I'm saying? Where like Dragon Age is an example of you saw people being that way towards it, and then it actually fucking failed. And it's like, oh shit. So it makes you question like how much of that failure was derived from the big push against it. But I think the big takeaway from Dragon Age Veilguard is if you go like listen to reviews and you listen to people talk about who played this game, it's lacking in like many areas. So like, yeah, there were obviously a lot of very intensely liberal people that made it. And, you know, that's why it attracted so much ire from a certain group. But it's like, it turns out that they just didn't make a very good game at all in many aspects. Some people did like it, but you get what I'm saying, where people were like, this just doesn't, like, it's not doing it. It's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And it failed. It failed. And I think people are looking at Ghost of Yotay, and this is going to be truly fascinating. Like, I'll be honest, like, one of the reasons I still want to play this game so badly is because I want to know, like, myself. Like, I want to know if when I walk away from this game, it's like, dude, people were fucking wrong. Like, aggressively, egregiously wrong. We're like, this shit fucking slaps, bro. Or if they're going to be right. And I'm playing it, and it's like, dude, like, this is not anywhere near as good as Tsushima. Like, this story blows or something. You know what I mean? Just something like totally off. Something's totally off with this game. But I just, you know, I think people have this mindset with these studios talking about PlayStation Studios as a whole. I think that they have this idea that like they suck. And it's like, well, objectively speaking, they actually don't. Like, and I'm not saying that as a defense. I'm saying like, if you look, like their games sell millions and they win awards, dude. If you're Sony, if you were in charge of Sony, would you look at that and be like, wait a second, we got a problem here? No, you would be like, this is great. And that's what's so fascinating in watching the Ghost of Yotay situation is you're seeing people announcing they're canceling their pre-orders. And it's like, here's the thing. If you want to scare Sony, and this is just what we all know this, you speak with your wallet. If you want to scare the shit out of Sony, don't buy this game. Cancel your pre-order. Like I'm saying, if you want to rattle their cage and like really get their attention, don't buy it. But that's the question. That's the fucking question, though. For every person you see, and I've talked to you guys about this. I've talked to you guys about this so much. I've talked to you guys about this more probably than anybody else out there. Do you know how easy it is for people on the internet to fucking lie? Anonymous individuals on the internet with nothing to gain or lose. Do you know how easy it is to lie? Do you know how easy it is to heart a picture of somebody's canceled pre-order? And then suddenly it looks like, wow, look at how many likes that has. I guess people must really be fucking. But the reality is, I guarantee you more than half the people who like that post are still buying that game because they don't need to come out here and announce to the world whether or not they're buying it or not. They're living a life off of the internet. That's what I think a lot of people who view shit on the internet don't realize. And this is why it's like, well, how can this be? How can there be so much ire towards PlayStation Studios and so much people be so negative towards it, but yet Sony's still breaking records, having their best revenue ever, you know, selling tens of millions of copies of their games, winning awards? How could this be? And it's because, dude, there's a fundamental understanding where you will see situations like Dragon Age where not only did that game just is kind of apparently it's just a mediocre game, but it's a mediocre game that also attracted the attention of a lot of people who have a major problem with it from a political standpoint or something like that, or you know, it's a culture war standpoint. You put those two things together, you're gonna get a failure, just like you did with Concord. You know, whereas like trust me, that game didn't just exclusively fail because a robot had pronouns. That game failed because it was like what this This is it. Like, there are better games that do that. Like, they're doing exactly what you're doing. There are better games right now that I can play, that I am playing. And this just feels lame, you know? And then it also attracted the ire of all the, of certain groups. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like the realization is that something is disconnected here. Where how can you see all of this, but the bottom line result is not reflective of it? And in some cases is the exact opposite. And I try to tell people because you have to keep when people say the internet is real life, they're not saying it doesn't matter. I don't like that's not my interpretation of when people say the internet isn't real life, that it doesn't matter. My interpretation is they're just trying to remind you that we are all like it's the anonymous internet and people can just say what they want and do a completely opposite thing in their real everyday life. And they do. They absolutely do. The amount of people that tune into these videos of people who are like, cultivating they're cultivating a type of culture where it's like we don't buy anything, we don't buy slop, and it's like, dude, half those people are still buying the slop. Guaranteed, they're buying the slop. Whatever you deem slop, right? They're still doing it, and that's the thing, dude. Is it's just. And Michael, thank you for the super chat. He says this is your reminder to finger the like button, guys. Okay. I'm going on some like heated, serious tangent, and Michael's like, now's my time. This is the best time to say this exact comment. Michael knows I won't ignore him either. He knows I won't ignore him. Everybody likes a little bit of slop from time to time, Isley. Are you saying that YouTubers lie? I can't believe such a thing. It's not even just, well, that's the thing. I'm not even talking about YouTubers. I'm not talking even about people with influence. I'm talking about the perception that's created. Where like I saw earlier in my stream, people were referencing like how many dislikes Ghost of Yotay has, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense given the circumstances. My question is, what does that mean for the sales? Like, we've seen games get fucking obliterated on the internet with ratios, likes to dislikes being like way, way, way. I mean, just getting crushed. They still do fine. We've seen the opposite. We've seen games where that happens and then that game like dies. I just think that when you look at Ghost of Yotay, and if you have an understanding of PlayStation Studios, it's like, it seems to me like they've made a overall pretty damn good game. That's the vibe I get from it based off of everything I've seen. I think it's going to take a lot more to make this game fail. And I think all that would really need to happen to push a game like Ghost of Yotay over the edge to like, now this game's going to be a failure, like it's going to descend into failure and Sony's going to like freak the fuck out. It has to be a mediocre game. Truly, like it has to be underwhelming. When people play it, they're like, this doesn't feel great. Like I don't even dislike it because of the of like people disliking it for political reasons. It doesn't feel great or even good. If that's what Ghost of Yotay ends up being, you will see it fail. Because you're not just, then you're getting people who just care about playing video games canceling their pre-orders. So there's spectrums to all of this. And we have GC Edit with a super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, personally, I keep politics away from games. I play Yote and I don't care what the actor stands for, what the devs stand for. I'll play it because I'm interested in the game I see in front of me. And I can respect that. Absolutely. And to be honest, seeing how insane things have gotten, I'm like, geez, that's kind of where I want to be too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I have my principles and my morals and I, I have my own ideology, of course. I think everybody does. But one thing, I told you guys this, and I'm not trying to just, I don't want to rehash it again. I'm really trying not to. I'm just trying to acknowledge the elephant in the room. But it's like, I was not prepared Not, maybe some of it is due to just sheer ignorance, but genuinely like where I'm like, oh my God, this is like, I didn't expect a fucking explosion, you know? Like it's like those times when you see those like F around find out videos and somebody just like drops a little gasoline on something and you're expecting just a little fire. And then you drop a little bit of gasoline and somehow there's just like this fucking mass explosion and everything's on fire. It's like I wasn't expecting that. And, maybe that was just because, you know, you're saying you're giving money to people who hate your guts. That's fine if they don't make that known to you. That right there is where Sony finds themselves. There's a really intense, loud, and it's on both sides, but right now there's like one side in particular that is like telling you, like, dude, you like they're trying to get a message across to the masses, and that masses is that it's not just this one person. That's the message they're trying to deliver. Where I'm not telling you to not support this game or this studio because of this one person. I'm telling you to not support this game or this studio because it's not just this one person. It's probably a lot of people in that studio. Maybe even, if we really want to get spooky about it, the majority of the people in that studio. Now, I think there's like 250 developers at Sucker Punch. They're pretty big team. And they're located in Seattle. So it's like, yeah, you have a general idea of like where they're coming from just based off of their location in general. But it's like that question needs to be that's a question that I just would recommend people approach with um some level of trepidation because that is a slippery slope. If convincing yourself that every person that's making games at these studios hates you, that I think if you're just that sounds kind of crazy. Now, if you want to be more reasonable about it, you could say probably portions of people working at these studios probably would hate me or they don't like me. And they have like a big problem with certain aspects of me. But you could say that about everything. And that's the realization that I have had in the past and continue to have is that you can say that about literally everything, dude. Where it's like it doesn't matter what product you're consuming. If you're consuming something that's made by a larger group of people, there's chances, it's not chances, it's guaranteed there are people involved with the making of this thing that you guys would probably hate each other. And there would be no getting along whatsoever. But that's where you have to ask yourself, like, well, this is why people keep bringing up, well, like, it's just one person. And it's like, that's the thing that needs to be kind of focused in on is like, the question is, does that one person represent the entirety of that studio? Well, when that person gets immediately fired and exiled, essentially, like you're out, what does that tell you? This is why I understand the passion and the drive that people have, but I'm just finding myself confused to a degree where it's like they told you. Now, don't be naive about it. Like, does that mean that there isn't still somebody there working at Sucker Punch that probably does hate you, that actually agrees with what that person said? Of course there is. Who would think otherwise? Of course there's somebody, or maybe even a few more people there that absolutely feel that way. But the point is, they didn't tell you that. They're not going out of their way now to tell you that. They're being quiet. They're not saying a fucking word because that's how it should be. That's the point. And I think that's the only real point that needs to get across. That, like, if people want to drag this into territory where it's like, we need to fucking clean out everybody and restart from scratch, it's like, all right, look, is there, as they call it, rot in these studios? Yes, but guess what? That's what you're identifying are the bad apples. And guess what? The bad apples exist on all sides and they always find their way in. What we need to see is just a constant overwatch of like, you can't let that get out of control. because you don't want just a few bad apples to ruin the bunch, you know? And that's why I do believe Sony did the right thing, because they're sending the message that this person just caused, like, this is a person that now be deemed a bad apple that is about to rot the rest. They're about to ruin everything. So they did what had to be done. And that is a fucking message to the entire staff. Feel how you want to feel. Be your own person. Keep it fucking professional. Do your job and do it well. That's the point. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. That's why I could never get on board with the people who kept telling me about, like, but this political activist who's playing Atsu. And I'm like, I get that. And maybe that, I'm not saying you shouldn't be totally unaware of that. Maybe that does send a signal. Maybe Sucker Punch is low key being passive aggressive, where they're like, we're going to show them, we're going to hire this actress who's known to be a political activist to send a message, you know? And to be honest, Digital Dude, I'm talking about it again because it's like, dude, it's not going to go away. And I'm not going to talk about it every stream or everything, every time. I'm just saying that next week, bro, Ghost of Yote reviews are coming out. You think, like, this isn't just going to go away. Ghost of Yote launches the week after that. It's not just going to go away. And make no mistake, when Sony does their show, and probably even going into 2026, unfortunately, this is not going to just go away. And this is why I'm trying, my hope is to calm people down so they can see some level of reason. That's, to be honest, that's the only reason I'm talking about it, because I see how it's like, how is it still this fucking insane? You know what I mean? Like, how is it still this insane? And it's because people are not calming down, man. And this is like, I know Sony is like powering through it, being like, just ignore it, bro. Just ignore it. They'll go away. It'll stop. And it's like, it's not. So the only thing left to do now is see it for ourselves and find out, you know? Let's see what happens. Saying sending tweets is not political activism. Well, Shems, before I read your super chat, I just wanted to say that, like, I think, look, I think people have to try to be a little bit more responsible. That's my personal opinion, where I feel like people who are part of something bigger, if you're part of a PlayStation Studios team comprised of hundreds of people that are putting their blood, sweat, and tears every day, day in, day out for 5, 6, 7 years straight into a game, I think people need to be a little bit more responsible and understand that, sure, you can maybe make the decision that freedom of speech, what I say is just my individual opinion on my own personal account. But when you have it pinned in your bio that here's the studio I represent and the game I'm working on, guys, that can and will be used against not only you, but that studio and every single person at that studio going forward. And that's exactly what we just saw. And I think that this is why I'm saying, look, man, I am not dumb enough, because I feel like you'd have to be pretty dumb to believe that this is what's going to happen as, like, the overall outcome here. I'm not dumb enough to believe that we need to replace all the lefties inside of Sony with righties. Like, it's not going to happen. But this is a step in the right direction of keep it professional. You know what I mean? Like, just do your job, do it well, and don't drag your studio into unnecessary bullshit. Just basically, in the same way that the gamers are saying, let's just keep it gaming, there's an expectation where it's like, well, everybody involved in making these games, maybe, let's keep that gaming as well. So, can you keep your channel professional Well, that's I don't know, digital dude. Can I? I guess we'll see. Wait and find out. Shems, you're saying, remember what happened to The Last of Us 2 sales? They tanked. Ghost of Tsushima was a vent for a lot of gamers. Now the tables have turned. I mean, I think I don't know what Sony's expectations were for The Last of Us Part 2. I know that it sold like 10 to 12 million, so that's not bad. Like, there are studios out there that would kill to sell even half that. But we know that The Last of Us 1 sold a lot more. That we do know. We do know that there was a major drama around The Last of Us Part 2. So I don't think it tanked. Yeah, I wouldn't use the word tank. I would say I think it probably didn't live up to its full potential. I think that's how I would phrase it. Where I think The Last of Us Part 2 could have surpassed 1 or got very close to the same sales numbers. But I think that there was, I just think that there was enough of a because, like, let's face it, the drama around The Last of Us 2 definitely transcended gaming circles. And I think that is probably what may have done damage to the sales, potentially. But I don't think it tanked. I think Sony was probably happy to see it cross 10 million, if I'm being honest. I think any game that crosses 10 million, Sony sees that as a success. But there's no doubt that the leak hurts. I mean, just ask yourself one simple question. If the leak never happened, would it have sold more? At least at launch, I think it would have. I think it's safe to say that at launch it would have, yeah. Mario B, you're saying you can have your views, just keep it out of games. And, that's the thing, man. It's just like, look, I do want to move on, and I'm going to at some point. It's just I know that now, unfortunately, every time Ghost of Yotay is acknowledged on the internet, it's going to bring that discourse. And I don't know. I'm probably just, I probably am spinning my wheels, to be honest. I probably am spinning my wheels because it's like, I think there's a lot of people who already know that. I think there's a lot of people who already have made their mind up. So I don't want to be overreaction. I don't want to be too reactionary, and I don't want to overreact. But no, I am, Domingos. I made it pretty clear that oh yeah. Hold on one sec. Sorry about that. But no, Domingos, I guess, yeah, I guess it makes sense that there will probably be a lot of people who are still not aware that, like, no, I'm still going to get it and play it and cover it. And the reason for that is very simple. If you go back to the stream, I don't want to keep, I know I keep referencing that stream. I had to update the title of that stream because I didn't realize until afterwards that, oh, a lot of people are just reading the title and not actually, they're not going to hear what I have to say, which is fair because it's a 5-hour stream. So I updated the title, and I have the title be more reflective of what I said in the stream, which is, I will be passing on Ghost of Yotay if Sucker Punch doesn't do something. Because yes, I was feeling that level of like, dude, like, I'm not trying to turn this into something it doesn't have to be, but it's like, bro, that Sucker Punch, like, I just need like, give me anything. Give me a sign, bro. That's all I was, you know what I mean? Like, just give me a sign, please. And they did. They flat out did. In a pretty matter-of-fact way. And I'm holding up my end, and I said numerous times in that stream, that if they do that, they will have my support again, and I will support their game. I'll buy it. And I'm gonna honor that. Like, it would be fucked up for me to go again. And I do want to play it. Like, that shouldn't be hidden. Like, I obviously do. I'm not the type of person that's like, I need an excuse not to play this game. Like, no, dude, I really do want to play it. If anything, I'm actually fucking relieved because I was really thinking like they're not gonna do anything, bro. Like that. And Mario B, you're saying I was talking about the devs. My bad, bro. Oh, no, I knew that. I knew that, Mario. It's all good, dude. I appreciate that, though, man. Bro wanted some fame. Let's all be honest. No, dude. Oh, dude. 0 point. If that's what you think it is, oh, man, you don't even know. You don't even know. Dude, there are like 3 different directions I could go in starting tomorrow that would triple or quadruple my views. If maybe, at the very least, double. Easily double. But no, the only thing I can say is that title and that stream was made very quickly. And yeah, it did do well. Like, there's no denying it did well. And if anything, that could be something that, like, okay, now I'm just going to lean into this even more. And I absolutely, trust me, man. Like, if that's what this was about, we'd be having a very different conversation right now. But that's not what it's, it's not about the drama. I don't really like the drama. I really don't. You're saying you seriously screwed your channel, bro? You have grifters in here who don't even play games. This one dude literally said, when was God of War ever on PS3? Bro, I need to know who said that. Now, listen, Digital Dude, to be fair, maybe that person genuinely was confused. Maybe they thought God of War 3 was actually a PS4 game, because it was on PS4. Yo, can someone tell me when God of War 3 was ever, or when was God of War ever a PS3 game, bro? Like, that's funny. That's funny. Masochist mode, do you mean like in the game or outside of the game? Because, dude, I've been seeing people freak out about that aspect of it outside of the game, and I'm like, okay. I mean, like, for me, it's more, yeah, that's what I was thinking too, bro. And dude, masochist mode, that's the next thing if that comes out. If it turns out like that's where, I don't know how relevant that's going to be in the game, but if that happens, it's like, oh, give me another cigarette. I can't. I'm gonna need 3 cigarettes. I'm gonna have to have a cigarette in between each finger. Pushing Polygons, a member for 29 months, says, MBG, you're stuck in a storm. You can have 5 games. You can have 5 games, any system, including a future console and its game. What do you have to get you through? It's a tough question. You're saying, you're saying anything, dude? Stuck in a storm, you have 5 games, any system, including a future console. I want a PS6 with Abandoned. I want WD-40 Simulator. No, I want Abandoned, Real-Time Experience, GTA 6. I want a proper PS5 version of MGS4. I want Wolverine. And what was that, 4 games? What would I want my 5th game to be? GTA 7. No, I'm just kidding. Deep Down? No, I wouldn't want Deep Down. I don't know why I'm so hung. GTA 6 would really be all I need, so I don't know why I'm so hung up on the 5th game. I guess Soros. Soros would be a great one to have. I feel like the replayability of that game would be pretty good. The replayability would come down to GTA 6. No doubt. That would be the game. PS6 version of GTA 6. I think that could get me through. I mean, I'm trying to keep it reasonable. Like, yeah, Bloodborne 2, I mean, you're saying let someone give me a review copy. I mean, I would take one, but yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Oh, wait, yeah, shit. Fizzent. I said MGS4 for PS5. You know what? Yeah, let me. I'm going to replace. I still would want to replay MGS4 on PS5, but yeah, I think maybe I would take Fizzent over that. Sometimes I forget that thing's even in development. Ever since Kojima said he's the only one working on it, I just imagined him alone in a giant office, like in a giant, you know, development office, and he's just the only one, like walking around, just like writing ideas on boards and shit. Nobody's allowed to. Nobody's allowed to join him until he finishes figuring out exactly what the game's going to be. Yeah, Fizzent would be a good one, and that will be a PS6 game. Yeah, Captain Hook. They did. They fired the person, and they confirmed to multiple outlets that requested to know that. Yeah, they've been taking. Well, I mean, if you're talking about like if they put out like a statement, like on their social channels, no, they didn't do that. I am surprised they didn't do that, just because of the amount of pressure that's on them, and they still might. We'll see. But it's like I said earlier, I think they're afraid to do that because if they do that, it's likely going to, like, right now there's a shitstorm, and any idea that them acknowledging it would relax that shitstorm, it would not. It would make that shitstorm even worse. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they still should. I think. I mean, I would like to think at the end of the day it would help, but I fear, because it's like, here's the thing, man. It would be good for those that actually want that. It would be like, and that would be welcome if it's like, yeah, we want to make a statement and make it clear. That would be great. But I think the sad reality is that so many people who claim that's what they want, as soon as they get it, they're going to find the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. Because that's the thing. When I talk about the bad apples being involved, I'm talking about you can't reason with unreasonable people. And like I said, those unreasonable people are on all sides. You can't reason with the unreasonable. And I see some of the shit that people are saying on both sides. And I'm like, dude, no wonder why it's like people are running away. Like, this is insane. Like there's no reasoning. It's insanity. I feel like, unfortunately, we're approaching a paradigm shift where all the reasonable people are going to have to get off the internet, or create like really safe havens on the internet. Because that's how I have felt. I'll tell you, like, especially these days, like and I understand that's why people want, I see it in my chat. I see you guys, like, there's people saying like, don't talk about it, talk about it, and there's this push and there's this pull between people in my chat, between me and the chat sometimes. And I get it. Well, Digital Dude, to be fair, bro, like, my last two streams, I shut it down immediately. But I mean, you know, I'll play the game myself, man, and I'll let everybody know how I feel about it. And my hope, dude, is that I play Ghost of Yotay. It's an amazing game, and I don't come back being like, you know what, man, I think Sucker Punch fucked up with this one. I I don't expect that. Um, I'm not expecting some kind of Last of Us 2 level plot twist or some shit like that. We'll see. And to be fair, I think there's a lot of people who still want to play Ghost. I think a lot of people are trying to convince themselves they don't want to play it. I really believe that. I think there's a lot of people who are like convincing themselves like, I don't want to play this game. I don't want to play this trash. I think deep down it's like, no, you want to, but you just, you're struggling with certain aspects of what's going on right now, and I understand that, and I can respect that as long as it's within reason. Gravity, you're like, you're gonna love the game. Come on now. Well, I know. I'm not trying. I know it's veering once again into the political sphere, but I'm trying to keep it more focused on how the game's going to perform sales wise. I'm trying to basically the main crux of this conversation right now is trying to gauge the reactions that we're seeing because people are talking about it. Like it's the first thing that people brought to my attention when I booted up the stream today, even though Ghost of Yotay is even in the title, is like, do you see what's going, like how people are reacting to the new trailer? Do you see what's going on? I saw it was the number 2 trending thing when I checked Twitter, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on here? And it's like, again, people are trying to blow it up. And it makes me wonder, like, and I think a lot of other people are like, what is this going to do? You know? Like is this game really destined to flop or fail? And it is interesting to think that, yeah, you're right. Like somebody mentioned review bombing. Dude, Ghost of Tsushima got like boosted from positive reviews. What's the opposite of review bombing? And I feel like, yeah, Ghost of Yotay is going to get review bombed to fucking hell and back. No doubt about that. What would people say if it scores high in ratings? You think it would change? No. That's GC edit. That's why I'm talking about it a little bit more, because it's like, dude, this game could get a 90 fucking 6 on Metacritic. And believe me when I tell you, there, like, it's just, it won't remove. And maybe that is kind of the point of why I should stop talking about it ultimately, because it is exactly that. It could be literally the game of the year. It won't stop most of the people or a lot of the people that you see hounding it from doing so. It'll just continue. Um, and yeah, maybe that does highlight why the need to discuss it is dissipating more and more every day. I guess I do just feel bad ultimately that it's like, it sucks that this is going to have to follow this game around forever now. Yeah, exactly. It is just like The Last of Us 2. It's like there's going to be something, a black cloud, so to speak, that follows this game for good. And I'm not saying we have to acknowledge it all the time or every time, but if there, the reason why this is reminiscent of The Last of Us Part 2 a little bit, it is definitely some major differences, but a little bit, is that one of the things I tried to do with The Last of Us Part 2 is find that middle ground. It's like, you know, people who were going berserk on it, I'm like, there's many, 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 many great aspects of The Last of Us Part 2 outside of the story. And no, people are just so worked up where it's like, that doesn't matter. In most of these spaces, that doesn't matter. It's love or hate, bro. It's you're either in or you're out. You're on board or you're on. You're on or you're off. It's like, fuck, man, that sucks. I hate seeing shit, you know, stoop to that. And I'm trying, I'm trying to, I guess I'm just trying to encourage people a little bit. There are different ways, you know, we can approach this. And I don't want to approach it the same. I don't want to approach it. I approached it once in a black and white, you know, it is get on, get off type thing. I approached it one time and then they did what I asked them to. So it's no longer that for me. And, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I will try my best, when the time comes next week to go over the reviews. and eventually play the game and tell you what I think of it. I should, yeah, streaming it would be great. That'd be a great idea, wouldn't it? You're saying this issue is mostly a US thing, although we're a big market, the game will be sold everywhere. Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. Um, well, it's right around the corner. Jake, you're heading to work, man. All right. Yeah, I'm going to probably be wrapping this up soon. No more politics. Yeah. Ray says, I don't judge MBG just like he does not judge me on my personal beliefs. Well, I appreciate that, Ray. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to get to that point where I don't. Well, you're saying how about no more limiting free speech? Well, I mean, yeah, I understand the free speech argument, and there's nothing wrong with it inherently. But I do try to just keep in mind that like it is my channel ultimately, and I know that's a selfish thing to say, but it is. It is my channel, and at the end of the day, dude, like at the end of the day, the decision on how I want to steer this channel and this stream, it's purely on me, you know? Like my chat can say what they want. Anybody can come in here and say what they want. But how I want to conduct my channel and how I want to run it, it is on me. And I cannot deny that ever since, yeah, I mean, and this is not the first time. To be clear, this is not the first time politics have cropped up on the channel. And, I have to admit, I felt a little bit better when I was looking around and I was seeing like how this definitely went everywhere. Like there was no space I could find. Shocking. I was shocked by this, where this wasn't being brought up. And that made me feel a little bit better where it's like, okay, it's good to know it's like not just me. Cause it's almost felt like something where it's like, I don't even feel like I'm in full control of what's going on here. Like I have to try my best to control it. But I'm like going and I'm checking like I'm like checking all these other gaming spaces and I'm like, shit, dude, I've never seen this type of stuff brought up in this space. And here it is. So it's definitely, it's created there's been such a big splash made that it's going out there, you know? And I know that, dude, and I appreciate that. Yeah, and I will always denounce that. I will always denounce it because that to me that's just there's no need for that, you know. But at the same time, it's like once that declaration is made, then it's like okay, well, what now? People want to hear me talk about games, and to be fair, the majority of the stream was well, all right, maybe it's a pretty even split. We talked about the show. We talked the upcoming show. We talked about the PlayStation 6. We talked about the handheld. And yeah, I guess the third topic is not so much about Sony on AI use, but Ghost of Yote. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna we'll reel it in. Exactly. And I can appreciate that podcast. I can appreciate that because it's like, yeah, man, I think there's a singular point that some of us are trying to get across. Um, if using a sword is nerfing the experience in a samurai game, and you failed at game making. Shem says civil discourse is good. Just keep it cool. So, yeah, we'll probably talk about Silent Hill F soon. I know I'm waiting like for all the reviews to come out. But yeah, it's it's just gonna keep rolling, right? I've been hearing good things about Silent Hill F. Holy shit, it's getting hot in here, dude. Go to bed, MBG. It's too early to go to bed. Also, too much caffeine in my system. Not very late, actually. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think this might be a good place to wrap it up because I definitely don't want to just continue to linger on this topic. We'll cover things as they got to be covered if it's relevant to do so. Um, okay. But yeah, just pushing polygons. No, I'm not actually gonna be able to do one today. I had to keep today a little bit shorter because I'm still helping Mrs. MBG out a little bit. But we will at some point this week. I promise we will do a members lounge. I can't. It's just I probably should have prefaced that yesterday when I mentioned it because sure you saw I had to get up like multiple times during the stream, which is fine. It's just temporary. But we could either do one tomorrow or Friday, or hell, even if we have to do a little bonus Saturday stream if need be. But we'll make sure to do a members lounge. I want to hang out with you guys for a little bit. It's been too long. I will do Lady Gamer. I appreciate that. And Jake, you're saying the email you sent me. It's taking a while to load for some reason. Everybody's golf. Jake, what's the highlight of this? What's the highlight of this article? Silent Hill F looks fire. Thank you, Pushing Polygons. Yeah, she's doing all right. She's hanging in there. She's just recovering from a small procedure she had to get done yesterday. That hopefully, if hopefully it works. It's meant for like pain. I told you guys she basically has like her spine is like fractured like completely. Um, and so a lot of it can't. It's a complicated situation, but most of it is pain management. And so the procedure she got done yesterday, hopefully it'll be it could be up to 2 weeks till we find out for sure if it helps or not. But yeah, it's a little bit of an initial recovery. She's already doing like way better today though. And yeah, hopefully it helps her pain. Cause she's been in a lot of pain and it fucking sucks for her, obviously. But yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough, but appreciate the support that you guys have shown. Certainly to me and my family. September 1st to the 7th, the PlayStation 5 sold 36,800 units. Oh, dude, that has to be for Metal Gear, right? Unless there's something else I'm missing. Where's Boss? He's sleeping on the other side of the room. Yeah, yeah, already on that, Wes. um, Thank you, Angry Whale Watcher. But yeah, I think this will be a good place to wrap up the stream. I definitely want to try to have it finished before or around the 3 hour mark. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. I really do appreciate it. And I want to give a big thank you to anybody who dropped any support. If you dropped any member gifts, if you became a member, if you dropped any super chats or direct donations, I can only do this because you guys make it possible. We're totally fan funded. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, again, just to be clear, I'm not trying to veer this channel into political territory. I know it's been a little bit more than normal lately, and some people just can't stand it. But the hope is that hopefully the political discourse will calm down in the game space a little bit, to where not that it needs to be purposely ignored, but just won't be as relevant. We can focus on other things, but yeah, either way, I appreciate you guys hanging with me. And also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter who does the timestamps for the streams. If you guys see him in the comments with the timestamps, give him some thanks, show him some love. Yeah, I know, Orphan. I'll keep throwing that out there though, right? I'll throw it into the ether. But yeah, make sure you guys give some thanks to Devil Shooter, and we appreciate what he does. And that does it, guys. Please enjoy the rest of your day. I hopefully will be back tomorrow. Just have your notifications turned on. We'll see. Sony could announce that show at any moment. So, all right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I will catch you in the next one. Till then, take care, everyone.